With my restructured video, module 4, solving equations. So I'm working with this equation right here, negative 34 minus 1/2 x equals negative 58. So I'm going to be going through the more procedural method without using the virtual manipulatives. So looking at this problem, the first place I would start, or sometimes I'll bring into the idea of using the reverse order of operations when solving an equation for the variable. So the first thing I need to do here, the first step I need to take, is to take this negative 34 and make a zero pair with it. So I have negative 34, and my additive inverse would be positive 34. So I'm going to do 34 plus the negative 34 here. I'm going to put a circle around it since that makes a zero pair. And I liked in one of the beginning module 4 videos, one of my classmates suggested putting a line through it to cross it out since we know it's zero. I really like that, so I'm going to incorporate that here. So 34 plus negative 34, they're additive inverses, so they make zero. So now I'm going to carry down the rest of my equation. So I have negative 1/2 x equals negative 58. Real quick, I noticed that they're both negative. So I could just divide both sides by -1 just to, eliminate the negative there. However, when I'm just going to do it all in one step. So to divide out, well, I don't want to use the wrong terminology, but to make a one pair with the negative 1/2 x would be the same as dividing by negative 1/2 on each side. However, and I could get into the whole conceptual side of this, but just really quickly to make it brief, I would be multiplying by the inverse, or the reciprocal, I'm sorry. So it would be negative 2 over 1. And then I'm going to multiply this side by negative 2 over 1. I could just leave it as negative 2, but just for the sake of explaining everything, I'm going to put them both over 1. Now what I'm going to do, sorry, my thing decided to lose connection. These two right here are going to make a one pair. I'm just going to circle those. Now I'm just going to have x equals. Now here's the thing. Since I already started recording this video, I'm not going to pause it and redo it, but sometimes I do make mistakes in class, and I actually encourage my students to kind of call me out on this. I remember the first time I was called out on a mistake that I made in class. It was in virtual learning about almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and I was actually super embarrassed, but I really liked that the student was able to pick it out. So I'm going to backtrack here real quick. I just noticed that I did not add the 34 back here. So we're just going to erase a couple things here. So this is, going to be, I'm going to keep that. But instead of having negative 58 here, I'm really glad I caught this here. I'm going to have negative 24. So it'll be negative 58. And one thing, to make this into a real life scenario, sort of, that actually seems to really go well with my students, I like to think a lot of times with adding integers, they get super confused really easily. So I like to say, sometimes, as an example, may you owe $58 and now you pay back $34 of it. And they still have to do the computation on it, but it helps them kind of realize which direction we're really going in. So now I have negative 24 from combining these two, adding, times negative 2. And I'm going to bring this down. Is 48. I like to box my answers. That's actually something my mom, who's a professor, taught me, because a lot of times we use circling for other things, such as making a zero or a one pair. I like to box them, and I often encourage my students to do the same because it's easy for me to read as I'm grading, or for me if I'm checking my work to notice here. So let's just check this real quick to make sure we did it right. I'm just gonna kind of visually do this real quick. I could write it out, but I don't have much time left here. So 1/2 of 48 would be 24. Negative 34 minus 24, or you could say adding negative 24, would equal negative 58. So that is my restructure video here. I think one of the biggest things I actually learned just making this is to really check myself and realize that I, might have made a mistake, which doesn't apply to any math lesson in general. And one thing I've learned from my teaching is don't get flustered when you make a mistake. And I don't even have to pretend I didn't make a mistake. I can be honest and say, hey, we all make mistakes. That's why it's important to check your work. And that's also one reason it's important to, say, substitute my answer into the original equation to see if I did it correctly, because we all make mistakes. So I'll close up on that because I may have gone a little over time here. So, I'll see you for the next module.